Christians. I was having dinner with some friends to find out that the wife was a Christian. And we were having a conversation about the curses that God put on Adam, Eve, and the serpent. And when we got to the part about the curse being put on the woman, there were two curses specifically. One curse was that she would have pain in childbirth. Everyone knows this and everyone talks about this who's a believer. No problems understanding that concept. But the second curse that God gave to Eve was that her desire was going to be to her husband, but that she won't prevail. Now, the curse, in more plain language, means this, that the woman is going to want to dominate over the man, but she won't prevail. Some people won't like that. Some people don't like it. Some people think it's archaic thinking. But that is, in fact, what it says. But my friend's wife, the Christian, she said that the whole scenario between God, Adam, Eve, and the devil, that it was just a parable. It was parabolic. Nothing to indicate that whatsoever. But whenever people don't want things to be true, somehow we find ways to hyperbolize it, or to make it a parable, or to turn it into something that anything so that it won't say what we don't want it to say. But one of the curses, which is in fact to Eve, is that she, the woman, is going to want to have domination, wants to dominate over men. We see this today. There's no point in ignoring it and acting like it's not true. That's what the Bible says now. Now, you can make the argument that it's a parable, but it would just be a figment of your imaginations. And here's the reason why. Because of what happens as a result of the fall is that sin reigns over all of mankind. So the evidence of the event taking place and not being parabolic is clear in that men are clearly sinners, even by their own estimation. So men are sinners. So if the fall was parabolic, that means sin is parabolic. And if sin is parabolic, then death must also be parabolic and does not actually reign over all men. And if all these things are true that we're talking about, if they're all parabolic and that's true, then that means that we are not sinners. There is no condemnation. There is no coming of Christ. The coming that the Christ that we know actually did was of no value. I can go on and on with this. If the original sin that took place and the curses that resulted from it, if they were just parables, if this was just a biblical parable, then our sin is a parable. Death is a parable. The atonement of Christ is a parable. The resurrection of Christ is a parable. Angels are parables, or a part of the parable. So anyone who would say that what took place in the garden, that whole scenario in Genesis in the first 3 chapters, that was just parabolic language, I would have to conclude that whatever salvation that you think you have is also parabolic. And why even call yourself a Christian if all of it was just stories? Anyway, something to think about. Be provoked, be persuaded.